YouTube um, and on Twitter. I'm not really doing Facebook at the moment. I don't have anyone really following there. So so today I'm really hoping that some people will chime in and give me their questions and have a bit of a chat with me. I hope you enjoy what I'm doing, and we're going to be talking about 1 year of doing this, of doing the Sacred Isle, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Dragon Tree. We're going to talk a little bit about myth. We're going to talk a little bit about ghosts. We're going to talk a little bit about folklore. We're going to spend our time around Freshwater Bay, which is where I sort of went mooched around today. We're going to talk a little bit about the weird. I don't know if you've ever heard of the weird, which is, I guess, equates to fate or to, fate, maybe. It's an Anglo-Saxon word. But yeah, it seems to sort of equate to that sort of thing. Now, let me just see if I can zoom that in a little bit so we can see that picture a bit better. Let's have a look here. Right, I'm not sure if that's working, but oh, there we go. Hang on, let's pull that down, and here we go. That looks better, doesn't it? Yeah, so that's a picture from today, from when I went to the Dragon Tree. So let's talk a little. Let's start off by talking about the Dragon Tree. Please, if you're watching, say hello on Twitter. I'd really like to say hello and have a shout out. Sometime during this quick, it's not going to be too long, 20 minutes maybe. I'll also be giving away my very last of my books to one lucky person, and I'll also be announcing how much money I'm going to be donating to charity for every new subscriber that I got since sort of last week. I thought it'd be a nice way to kind of give back. Gosh, I hate looking at myself. All right, so I went out today and basically went to the Dragon Tree. As you can see here, there's a picture I took. One of the wonderful things is when people put ribbons on the tree. Now there's a number of reasons. Some people do it for remembering people. Some people do it to celebrate, and some people do it just to celebrate the tree. And it's there for symbolic reasons, and there are different colours and things, and some. And I actually spoke to someone today who was putting a ribbon on the tree, and I asked, why are you doing that? And they said they just wanted to thank the tree for being there, which I thought was beautiful. And we just sat down at the tree, and I told them a little story about it. Now, there's actually a couple of stories about the Dragon Tree and where it comes from, and the most common and the one that most people know is that Bryston, the village that the Dragon Tree is in, was being tormented by a dragon or a worm, a worm, and it was poisoning the water. Now I might have a little bit of a let's see if I can bring this up. Turn it off there, and put a little bit of. Let's get a little bit of atmosphere going on here, shall we? Yeah. So this is a little video that I took of the water that's sort of running around that part of the world. As you can see, it's clear, and the story goes that the water ran black as tar and poison, and everything around here, everything around this part of the world just died because of it. And the story goes that a man or a in some people say he's a holy man, and some people say that he was a knight coming back from the Crusades and wandered through. And the story that talks about the holy man praying, and at the mention of Christ, the dragon fell back and turned to wood. The other is that the man coming back from Crusades, the knight coming back from the Crusades, was so racked with guilt because of the deaths that he had bestowed upon his fellow man, was thinking about even just taking his own life. And when he came upon these poor people of Bryston, and they begged his help, he battled the dragon, and upon killing the worm or the dragon, and it slithered back into the ground, and from that a tiny oak tree sprung. And he was so surprised and so filled with contrition and happiness at this miracle before his eyes. He then went on to devote himself to God, and was then sainted, apparently. And so his name, well, there's various names. There's been actually various names that have been sort of hinted about, but it was supposedly St. Tarquin. But there is no St. Tarquin. Now here's the story that I like. That it wasn't Sir Tarquin. Sorry, it wasn't Saint Tarquin. It was Sir Tarquin. Which kind of works with the whole narrative of... oh, sorry about the noise in the background there. That'll be fixed soon, I'm sure. That works with the whole narrative of him being a knight. However, Sir Tarquin was a treacherous knight of gigantic stature and strength. And the story goes that he got his strength from being half dragon, his or half demon, and Sir Lancelot came to the island as part of the crusade or their mission to try and find the Grail. They came to the island because they knew the island was sacred. They knew the island was filled with ancient and old magics and ancient holiness and so forth. So they came to the island, and they came across Bryston, and they came across Bryston because the story goes that here within Bryston was a great jewel, a jewel that shone with its own radiance, and hence the name Bryston, bright stone, the bright stone of the island, the magical stone. And Tarquin had jealously held this stone to himself. And when Sir Lancelot came and found the people of Bryston being subjugated by this awful man, they went to liberate them, and in the battle that ensued. The battle went on for 7 days and 7 nights. And just as they thought they were beating this Sir Tarquin, he ran off and ran over the waters here, the stinking waters that he had polluted, and ran into the woodland. And as he ran into the woodland, he transformed into this worm. And as he did it, Lancelot took his sword and straight through his gut and sliced up through his mouth. And as he did, great belches of ash and soot, and finally this stone just belched out that had been in Sir Tarquin's body, had been in his stomach, belched forth. And as he did, and this is where the story goes back to, he withered and slithered back and withered into the ground, at which time a new oak sprung forth. And that's where the dragon tree comes from. And from that day on, the dragon tree was seen as a fixture of hope and purity, and the waters ran pure, and the waters ran clear, and they have been ever since. So let's take another quick look at the tree, shall we? Here's another little video that I took that I think you might quite enjoy. See how we go here. There we go. So this is looking at the waters as the waters running by, and as you can see, they're clear and running free. And here's the trunk of the mighty oak, the mighty dragon tree, leaning out from its post on the side of the water, defending the purity. Its old gnarled branches is leaning forward. And there we go. And as you can see, there's some of the ribbons on the tree. And it's a peaceful, beautiful place, and it's a place where, if you get a chance to come to, I suggest you do, because just the trickling of the water and the beauty of the branches and the beauty of this magnificent tree is just astounding. And there we go again, and you can see the ribbons there. And there's the gnarled branches dipping into the water. And it's almost like it's sipping up the water, and as I said, it protects it. It's protecting it for for everyone, really. So that's the dragon tree. I hope you enjoyed that. So the next thing we're going to talk about is let me just shut these down. Oops, close that down there. Oh, there we go. So the next thing, so after I went there, I decided to go on to Freshwater Bay. And at Freshwater Bay, it was beautiful. The sun was just sort of coming down, and it just filled me with this beauty and this hope, and but also showed me that I was at the mercy of fate and all that was around me, and it just made me start thinking about the weird. And it's a word that's not used enough anymore, and I think it should be, because it's more than just fate. It's more than just the predetermination or predestination by the gods. It is more than that. It is a feeling. It is something that you may not be entirely in control of, but you do have ways of influencing it, and there were ways of influencing it. And they say that if you knew the right incantations, you could call on the hags and the crones who controlled the weird, and you could influence them, and you could influence them by leaving them gifts. But it also sort of leads into the idea that your lot in life, though cast at birth, can be changed. It's not a straight path. The weird is not a straight path. And life is more than just that one straight path. So as I was walking there, it was freezing cold. Well, no, it wasn't freezing cold. It was about 12 degrees, so it was chilly. And I just thought, I'm going to go out into the water. So I just went out there and I just stood in the water, crashing on me, crushing up my legs. And although it was cold, I didn't feel freezing. And I just put my hands in the crystal clear water and just let it rush over me. And there were people all around me, and they must have thought I was absolutely crazy. And it was just like a really refreshing, beautiful thing. So I thought I'd share this this little video with you after I got out. You can see what it was like. I mean, the blue skies, and excuse me. And as you can see there, you can see my mouse pointer. There are the two stones, and one of those is the mermaid stone, and the other is the deer stone, or the buck stone, or the rose stone. There's a number of names for it. The story is that hunters who are hunting deer come, and they chase this deer. Some even say it was a white deer, and it got cornered at the edge here, and it jumped and landed there to safety. And the hunters left it, and they saw that there was something supernatural and wonderful about this. Anyway, let's have a quick look at the. So there we go. I mean, just look at the blue skies and the water. You could even be fooled to think it was summer. But as you can see, there's people running around with coats on. I just walked out from the sea, and I was soaking wet. I just looked out there, and I just thought, the shadows are growing longer, and the afternoon is hitting. But how beautiful, absolutely beautiful is that? And it just makes me thankful for where I live. Now the stories here as well about smugglers, and actually there's smugglers' caves all around here as well. So sometime I'll talk about those. There's ghosts that live in those caves, and there's been reports of phantom ships just off on the horizon, just sitting there, and then they'll just be swept away into the mist, and gone forever, and no one quite knows who or what they were. But they think it's the smugglers, as I've said. So on to the last bit, I guess, of tonight. We're going to do a little bit of a ghost story. So I'm going to show you. Here we go. So these are the marshlands, and I'm at a place called Blackbridge. Now, excuse me, sorry. There's a number of stories as to where the name came from. one of the stories is that it was just a black bridge. There was a bridge there, and it was painted black. But there are other stories. There's a story of two, I guess, two lovers, and we'll get to that story in a minute. The bridge. So let's just have a quick look at. So there's marshland here, and this is the beginnings, I guess, of the Western Yar. So there are two Yars on the island, two bridges, two rivers called Yar. There's the east and there's the west. Now the Western Yar runs basically from Freshwater Bay through to Yarmouth, and it's been described as an absurdly small river, more like a trickle than a river. And it runs through Afton Marsh, or Eastern Marsh as it's sometimes called, through Freshwater Gate to the Northern Marsh, right through to Yarmouth basically. Let me just show you on a little map here that might give you an idea of, oh, sorry about that, someone's sending me messages. So so let's have a quick, let's get a map up and have a look here. Freshwater Bay, here we go. Right, so here we go. Have a quick look here. Let's see what that looks like. There we go. So here is this is basically the beginning of the River Yar here, and there's Afton Road. It runs up that way, and that's the River Yar there. And if we just zoom out a little bit, you can see it's on the corner here of the island. Originally, this was a separate, an actual separate island. The island was split in three. And if we have a look here, so originally this part here was split off, Bembridge part here. Now some say that was called Milton, and where this here was split off, and then there was the middle of the island, and they eventually came together. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about Blackbridge. So Blackbridge, as I said, it is just here, and actually there are old maps that show the bridge. And so this bridge has been here a very long time, and no one's quite sure how long. Anyway, let's take a look. So this is the Afton Marsh here. There we go, and this is the bridge, as you can see. Not the most beautiful of bridges. I would love to have the original one there, but obviously not. And there we go. That's kind of just looking down into the marsh. So I went for a little walk down in here. Now this is where they say two lovers used to meet. There's two stories. There's the first of the two lovers, and one lived on one side and one lived on the other. And the young girl lived on the western side, and she was the daughter of a gentleman. And the young man was nothing more than a stable boy or a farmer, and he had nothing. But they were in love, and they would meet there in what was the marshes and the badlands, and that was all covered in woodland and so forth. and they had decided that they were going to run away and elope, as children do, as the young do. And they were going to take off to the eastern side, or maybe to the ports, the north of the island, and go to the mainland, or go somewhere far away, so they couldn't be found. Anyway, the father of the young woman discovered what was going to happen, so he laid a trap. He sent a letter to the young boy, or a message. May not have been a letter. Maybe it was a message. Maybe a message boy to the young man, and said to meet me at the bridge, because tonight we will run away. But leave your things. Don't. I have enough to look after both of us. And so the young boy, thinking, now's the time to get away. We can go start a new life. Goes there to meet with his love. Anyway, when he gets there, he waits, and hears nothing. And he waits, and midnight comes, and he still waits. And then another message comes to the boy, and this messenger meets and says, the message is that the girl has changed her mind and she never wants to see him again. Never wants to see him again. And heartbroken, the boy walks back to the sea and throws himself into the sea, to the crashing rocks. And is killed. And the next day, the body of the young boy is washed on the shore, and the young girl sees him, and she works out what's happened. And at that moment, she goes to her father, and she says to her father, "Let us go to the cliffside. Let's go to the cliffs. Let's go for a walk." And at the top of the cliffs, in front of her father, she confronted him, and she said, "I know what you did." And she too threw herself over and crashed to her death. And it's said now, even now, at night, on certain nights when it's dark and quiet, two lovers can be seen meeting at that bridge, hand in hand, walking off together, finally together, to be away from the evil father. And then the last. Hang on, we've got a message that's just come through. Let's have a quick look. Well, yes, KT, we've come to the end of the live stream. So enjoy, and thank you for joining us. If you have any comments, please send them through. If you're watching it live now, maybe go back and watch the beginning of it later. So the last story about Blackbridge is about a smuggler. And the smuggler would come in, and he would land his boat at Freshwater Bay, because Freshwater Bay being a rocky beach, and would trudge up, and would go to the Afton marshes across the bridge. And he would bring his goods, and he would sell them to people. But this crafty smuggler had a side job. He would then go and basically, I should turn this off from dinging, shouldn't I? It might be probably a little bit annoying. So he would then disguise himself and basically be a highwayman. And these roads were terrifying at night, and he would stop people and yes, Magpie, I've just got another message. Let's have a quick look over here at Twitter, shall we? See how we go. Oh, there we go. Hey, that worked, didn't it? Thank you, Magpie. Yes, I'm happy they found peace as well. But anyway, we'll get back to the story. So this smuggler, who also was a highwayman, would terrorize the place, and because the main road from Yarmouth through there came straight through Afton, and he would hide underneath the bridge and come out and stand and deliver, and all that sort of stuff. I'm not sure if he said that. Anyway, the villagers of Freshwater Bay decided they had a plan. They were going to get this guy. So they dressed one of the villagers up and tried to make him look like a fine, rich man, and set him on a horse down Afton Road. And the villagers all lay in wait and waited for the highwayman to come. And sure enough, as the disguised villager came through, the highwayman jumped out. And then all of a sudden the villagers came out with stout cudgels and knives and whatever they could come, and they chased the highwayman. The highwayman, realizing that the jig was up, thought, "Oh, I'm going to get out of here." So off he ran. And he ran towards Yarmouth, finding that he couldn't get rid of these people that were just chasing him. He decided to run into the marshes, and he ran straight into the mud and the woodland, running blindly. And it was cold, and you know, when you run, and the burning was in his chest as these people were after him. And he found a place that he thought he could hide, he sort of covered himself over with leaves and just hid there in the undergrowth, lying there, hearing the villagers off in the distance. Thinking himself very clever, he decided after the villagers had gone and everything had gone quiet, he would make a beeline back to the water and get the hell out. He wasn't going to come back again. So he went to stand up. And to his horror, he found that he'd sunk into the mud. And his feet had sunk into the mud. And he pulled himself up. And as he pulled himself up, he sunk deeper and deeper and deeper into the mud. And that is when the weather changed. And there's something strange about this part of the world. Being marshy. And on certain times, when the weather's just right, and the moon is in the right position, we have a king tide. And the rain came down, and the moon was in the right area, and the wind blew, and the tide came in, crashing in. And the highwayman come smuggler was stuck. The tide came in and drowned him. And when the tide went out the next day, it said that all that was left of him was his boots and a cloak and nothing else. He was never seen again, except on those rare occasions when we have a king tide. Again, I must apologise for the train. But on those rare occasions when we have a king tide, people have seen the man crouched down in the undergrowth, hood pulled up, shivering and crying in terror as the water laps at his legs and finally comes crashing in and takes him away out into the sea. And that is the last story of Black Bridge. The Highwaymen of Black Bridge, I like to call it. So thank you everyone for joining me, those of you that have. And so the first thing we're going to do is see how many followers we got recently. So let's bring this up. And we will see. Let's see if there's any messages there. Let's have a quick look. If I've missed anyone. No, doesn't look like it. Let's have a quick look and we'll see how many followers we've got. So 2,858. We were at 2,000. Let's have a look here. Let's go all the way back. We'll know in a minute. Hang on. I should have been prepared, shouldn't I? I'm terrible. This is the worst. I know this is really boring. Let's go back here. And all the way back. Okay. So we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, gosh, 27, 30, 33, 36, 39, 42, 45, 48. It's going to send me broke, isn't it? 48, 50, 51, 54, 57, 60, 63, 66, 69, 72, 75, 78. 78 new followers. Wow, thank you so much. So that's 50p per. So what would we say? So let's see. Let's make it a nice round £50. I'm going to donate £50 to a mental health charity. So thank you very much for everyone that has followed me in the last few days for charity. So the very last thing is going to be we're going to draw one lucky person who will win my very last one of my books. I don't know if you've seen it. It's possibly the best recipe book you'll ever see. Well, you know, it's filled with all sorts of fun little, can you see that? There we go, little stories and recipes and terrible poetry. And there we go, some more little fun little things there. And even a little riddle at the back. And there's a special treasure for anyone that can solve this riddle. No one's solved it yet, but if they ever do, there is a special prize. So, time to go through, and every one of my followers is in the running to win. So I'm going to set my little randomizer here, and let's see who wins. Randomizing. I'm going to do 6 turns of the randomizer, and we'll see how it goes. Oh. And the winner is Samantha Landau. And that's at Broomstick Pen. Congratulations. You've won my book. I'll send you a message, or you send me a message. You're probably not watching. I'll send you a message. Send me your address, and I will post this out to you post haste. Thank you everyone for following me, and thank you everyone for joining me in this amazing little experiment of mine for the last year. Hopefully it'll keep going. Hopefully you'll enjoy it, and hopefully I'll do more of these live streams if people enjoy them. Okay, thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a good night. I'm off. I'm going to go to bed. I'm tired. Really, really tired. Night.